I used to think frozen meatballs were all basically the same. Just grab whatever's on sale, heat them up, and call it dinner. Then I spent a week eating my way through every brand in the freezer aisle and discovered I was very, very wrong. While you've been tossing any old bag into your cart, some truly questionable products have been masquerading as Italian cuisine. We're talking mechanically separated chicken, mystery meat textures, and sodium levels that could season a small ocean. Here's the thing, a bad frozen meatball isn't just disappointing, it's a dinner ruined. And then you bite into something that tastes like a gym sock had a baby with a sponge. So let's talk about the 8 frozen meatball brands that range from actively offensive to actually impressive. Because life's too short to waste $10 on meatballs formulated by people who've never been to Italy. Smash that subscribe button because we're about to save you from some seriously disappointing dinners. Number 8. Armour Original Meatballs. Armour's answer to how cheap can we make a meatball and still legally call it a meatball. At $8 to $10 for 64 ounces, they're the cheapest option here. What you get is pork, mechanically separated chicken, water, textured soy flour, and soy protein concentrate with about 2% actual beef as an afterthought. The texture is light, spongy, almost foam-like with processed poultry quality. One reviewer nailed the mystery meat vibe perfectly. The taste is aggressively bland. Chicken overwhelms any pork or beef. No garlic, no herbs, just generic meat product energy. And get this, they're noticeably small, disappointingly bite-sized. 880 milligrams of sodium per serving, which is 37% of your daily intake in just 6 tiny meatballs. At 13 cents per ounce, you're paying discount prices for discount quality. The ingredient list reads like a chemistry experiment. After the meats come water and textured soy flour. Armour survives on price positioning and mass distribution. They're banking on customers not reading labels to discover mechanically separated chicken. Meat literally pressure blasted off bones. Bottom line, you're paying $8 for chicken-flavored sponges with delusions of Italian grandeur. When the best thing you can say is inoffensive, you've created a product that exists to ruin spaghetti night. Number 7. Good and Gather Turkey Meatballs from Target. Target launched Good and Gather in 2019, positioning these turkey meatballs as the healthier option with no antibiotics or hormones labeling. At $10 for 28 ounces, they're marketing to health-conscious shoppers who see turkey and assume virtue. What they're delivering is a masterclass in how removing fat from a meatball removes everything good. Ground turkey and only ground turkey. 0 supplemental pork or beef for moisture. One reviewer nailed it. These are dry like a sandcastle, crumbly, fall apart, with a mealy, pasty mouthfeel that leaves you parched. Here's the paradox. Somehow these are both salty and completely flavorless. Described as watered down meat that tastes like dishwater. No herbaceous notes, no garlic, just salt and existential crisis. The no antibiotics or hormones label is pure marketing theater. Federal regulations already prohibit hormones in poultry anyway. Multiple reviews called the texture fine, which in food review language means I have nothing good to say. Target's banking on millennials who think turkey equals good without questioning execution. They're counting on shoppers grabbing these while buying throw pillows without tasting them first. At $10, you're paying Target to prove turkey meatballs without pork or beef are edible the way cardboard is technically edible. This is what happens when a focus group designs a meatball based on buzzwords instead of flavor. Number 6. Signature Select Italian Style Meatballs from Safeway. Safeway's attempt to undercut name brands by 15 to 20% while maintaining barely acceptable quality. At under $9 for 26 ounces, they're competitively priced. What makes this particularly frustrating, they contain an ingredient most brands eliminated years ago. Beef and pork blend with Parmesan cheese, apparently on witness protection because nobody can find it. Texture is standard, unremarkable. No crispy exterior, no tender interior, just uniform mediocrity. One reviewer captured it perfectly. If this is Italian, then Italia is blander than I thought. Gamey undertones, aggressive underseasoning, slight chemical aftertaste from preservatives. Here's where it gets tricky. These contain half a gram of trans fat per serving. Harvard Health describes trans fats as devoid of nutritional value and technically unsafe to consume. One serving delivers 25% of your daily sodium. The trans fats are inexcusable in 25 when even fast food chains reformulated years ago. They're banking on Safeway shoppers grabbing these out of habit while the Italian style label does heavy lifting that actual Italian seasonings refuse to do. $7 for meatballs with trans fats, a substance so unhealthy New York City banned it from restaurants in 2006. When you're charging budget prices for health risks, you failed on every level. But if you think trans fats in 2025 are disappointing, wait until you meet the meatball with an identity crisis. Number 5, Trader Joe's Italian style. Meatballs Trader Joe's has built a cult following for frozen foods, so I had high hopes at $5 to $6 per package. These are all beef with no pork, which matters more than you'd think. The execution is what happens when brand loyalty meets mediocre reality. All beef with significant breadcrumb filler, no pork fat for moisture. The texture reads as more bready than meaty, more bread. Then ball. When you bite in, there's no fat-rich burst, just dry, dense protein. Multiple reviewers obsessed over this oddly specific pepper jack cheese flavor. One said there's this pepper jack cheese flavor I can't stop thinking about. Not red pepper flakes, but more of a cheesy, spicy fruitiness. But overall, the flavor falls flat. No intense beefiness or rich seasoning. Plus, they leak juices during cooking, leaving them even drier. 65 milligrams of cholesterol per just two 71-gram meatballs, notably high for such a small serving. At 30 cents per ounce, these are budget price, but the beef-only formula means less juice, less satisfaction. Tasting Table admitted as a big Trader Joe's fan, I was dismayed these were actually some of my least favorite. The all-beef formula is likely a halal and kosher adjacent play without certification costs. But beef without pork fat creates an inherently drier meatball. $5 for meatballs that can't decide if they're bread, beef, or a pepper jack cheese experiment gone wrong. When even super fans admit disappointment, the brand name is doing more work than the product. If this is already saving you from a disappointing dinner, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Number 4, Rosina Italian style meatballs. Mama Lucia brand Rosina has been family owned making meatballs since the 1960s. Over 60 years in the business. At $7.50 for 16 ounces, they nail flavor and texture, but made one decision that's either genius or infuriating. Chicken, pork, and beef triple blended meatballs so small. One reviewer said they look like an astronaut lost in the vastness of space, except it's a tiny meatball in the endless void of my plate. The texture has distinct bounciness that makes them fun to eat. Almost springy with real structural integrity. Juicy without being oily or greasy. You can definitely taste herbs and spices, but the meat comes to the forefront. Well balanced with salt and onion notes that build as you eat. 690 milligrams of sodium. 30% of daily value per 6 meatballs. One reviewer admitted, despite these being cheaper, I'm still a huge fan. They cover all bases on flavor and texture. The only thing keeping these from the top is size. Multiple reviews called them hilariously small. Warning, their homestyle version contains trans fat while Italian style is cleaner. The tiny size is strategic, marketed as party meatballs to justify mini proportions and charged the same as full-sized options. The triple meat blend is cost optimization disguised as quality. Chicken is cheapest. $7 for meatballs so small, you'll need a magnifying glass to confirm they're not aggressively seasoned peas. When the best meatball requires eating a dozen to constitute dinner, somebody made a choice. But if you think paying $7 for meatballs you need a microscope to see is frustrating, wait until you see what $10 gets you. Number 3, Cooked Perfect Organic Italian Style Beef Meatballs. Cooked Perfect's Organic Italian Style line is their halo product targeting the Whole Foods demographic. At $10 for 21 ounces, these are the most expensive per ounce. What makes this impressive? They're one of few brands where premium price delivers premium quality. Grass-fed organic beef with Parmesan and Romano, certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, animal welfare, certified with an ingredient list your grandmother would recognize. Less processed texture that feels like handmade meatballs from scratch. They develop an amazingly crispy golden brown exterior that locks in savory juices. Fork tender interior. Rich, robust beef flavor where the cheese is actually detectable. Subtle spices enhanced without overpowering. Slightly charred notes that remind you of meatballs lovingly made on a stovetop. 440 milligrams of sodium. Only 19% of daily value. Only 19. Lower than most competitors. Only 1 gram of sugar compared to 2 or 3 in brands using more fillers. Grass-fed means better omega-3 profile. The Daring Kitchen panel called these the best tasting meatballs of all. But here's the kicker. Limited distribution means you'll only find these at Whole Foods, Price Chopper, and Food Town, mostly in the Northeast. Cooked Perfect isn't competing on volume. They're competing on values for customers who read labels. Limited distribution is intentional to keep the brand feeling premium and exclusive. $10 for meatballs that taste like someone's Italian grandmother made them. If that grandmother shopped exclusively at Whole Foods, you're paying a premium but getting actual quality instead of marketing promises. And if you're finding this ranking useful, hit the like button. It really helps the channel cut through the noise. Number 2, Rao's Homemade Meatballs and Sauce. Rao's has operated their legendary East Harlem restaurant since 1896, one of the hardest reservations in America. Their jarred sauces have a cult following. These meatballs and sauce run $10 to $14 for 24 ounces and with sauce already included. The real kicker? This package reveals something surprising about even heritage brands. Beef and pork meatballs with traditional sheep's milk, Romano, whole egg, and real parsley in Rao's marinara. The meatball texture is tender and juicy, moist inside with crispy exterior when oven cooked. Subtle garlic flavor without being overly processed. Well seasoned with traditional Italian approach where garlic, parsley, and cheese shine through in balanced way. But here's where it gets tricky. The sauce is surprisingly generic and extremely tomato pasty. Thick, gooey, one note. Runnier than expected and doesn't thicken even after sitting. At 42 to 58 cents per ounce, you're paying premium prices for 120 years of heritage. Freezer meal frenzy. Captured the contradiction. The meatballs are awesome, but the sauce is extremely tomato pasty, feels like something is missing. The ingredient list is legitimately clean with sheep's milk, Romano, whole egg, real parsley, no artificial preservatives. But the 50-minute cook time is a commitment. Rao's is leveraging restaurant reputation to enter the freezer aisle. The sauce disappointment is puzzling, given that's literally their core competency. Suggests cost cutting for frozen format. $13 to discover even a 100 to 20-year-old Italian restaurant can phone it in when making frozen dinners. The meatballs remember 1896, but the sauce tastes like it was formulated in a focus group last Tuesday. But that sauce disappointment is nothing compared to the controversy surrounding our number 1 pick. Number 1, Kirkland Signature Italian Style. Beef meatballs from Costco. Kirkland Signature's Italian-style beef meatballs come in a 6-pound bag with roughly 140 meatballs for about $20. The price hasn't changed since at least 2023 despite inflation. Here's the thing, these meatballs have a split personality depending on when you bought them. Ground beef as first ingredient, breadcrumbs, soy protein concentrate, both Parmesan and Romano, dehydrated bell peppers, garlic, chili pepper, mysterious natural flavors. According to fans, soft, smooth, almost fluffy with light, airy interior. Moist and well seasoned. Don't shrink during cooking. According to recent critics, small, dry, spongy with texture more like a hot dog. Soft and spongy in an unpleasant way. The taste, when good, is deliciously fatty and spicy. Noticeable black pepper, distinct aged tang from Parmesan and Romano. Very gentle peppery kick, 520 milligrams of sodium. 22% of daily value with 1 gram of trans fat per serving. At roughly 5 cents per ounce for 6 pounds, the value is insane. Sporked called these the closest to homemade meatballs from retail grocery, the best by a wide margin. But recent reviews tell a different story. Something changed, they're so small, dry, and spongy, the texture is more like a hot dog. Multiple reviewers say they used to be larger and juicier. This suggests Costco reformulated to maintain $20 price during inflation by using more fillers, less meat. Costco's classic strategy, undercut national brands, then use 6-pound format to create commitment. The price locked at $20 while cost increase means they're cutting corners with soy protein concentrate, cheaper than actual meat. $20 for 6 pounds that used to be great and might still be great depending on when Costco last reformulated them. It's like Schrodinger's meatball, simultaneously homemade quality and hot dog textured until you open the bag. Turns out the most expensive meatballs aren't always the best, and the cheapest aren't always the worst. Is her, though we. Armour and Good & Gather tried really hard to prove otherwise. At the bottom, we've got mechanically separated chicken and turkey, so dry it could double as building material. At the top, we've got Costco's quality roulette and browse, proving even 120 years of heritage can't save mediocre sauce. Here's what I learned. Don't trust packaging photos, brand names, or price tags. Read the ingredient list. If you see mechanically separated anything, textured soy protein, or trans fats in 2025, put it back. Your spaghetti night deserves better. Hit subscribe if this changed how you'll shop the freezer aisle, and drop a comment telling us which ranking you think we got wrong.